live today because I intended on doing one last night. I just got up for the day, so um, I noticed that yesterday, all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of stories, and I'm not singling anybody out. I'm not singling anybody out for anything, but I notice that there's always something every day that everybody latches onto. It's like always the same thing where like a whole bunch of people will latch onto like the same hyped up story that somehow made its way from mainstream sources into the alternative media, which is like what I said in previous live streams where I had said that they're taking these mainstream news stories are infiltrating alternative media. They're being repackaged and they're being reshown to alternative audiences who don't want to watch mainstream media. But mainstream media, nonetheless, their Mockingbird program has infiltrated the alternative sphere, and it's when you know what you know and you see these things happen. It's really annoying to me. It's like people aren't doing their due diligence, and they're not going and looking deeper into these things to find out where they came from, why they're being hyped up. What does it even mean? People take it to mean like it's this humongous deal when it isn't necessarily the case. It's just remember, Smith-Mundt is over. It's gone. It's gone. They can propagandize people at will. So, keep that in mind at all times whenever you see these current events stories that come out. And another thing, all that talking about how they're arming up all these agencies. Does anybody remember? It was 2012 to 2013 time frame. They were doing exactly the same things back then. It's like it's happening all over again. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people do have short memories and they may not remember that, but literally the exact same thing happened back then that's happening right now. And when people mentioned it to me, I said all I could say to that was, well, when I made my documentary series on the internal conflict, did you see what happened in that series? They amalgamated all the different alphabet forces into a single unit called the Paramilitary National Security Forces. So I said all that to say this. I'm going to go into discussing some of these hyped up things. See, originally I was going to cover a Chinese infantry fighting vehicle today, the ZBD-04 series of infantry fighting vehicles, because they have a couple different variants of that infantry fighting vehicle. That was going to be my technical stream for today, but you know what? Maybe I'll just save that for Thursday, because today I think it's important that people are reminded of that there are all these hyped up stories going on, and just because you see something being reported doesn't necessarily completely mean it doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to mean anything. Because there is fear and agitation propaganda being pushed, which I've already gone into. I've already gone into all of that in past streams. And but I have something else I'm going to discuss too, because it's something that's getting out of hand in our community and it needs to stop. I'm not naming names. I'm not going to name names. In fact, I don't name drop because I'm an adult, and I don't name drop unless I'm attacked personally. But anybody, I'm putting anybody on notice right now that all the pettiness, all the high school childish stuff within our community that's happening, it needs to stop. It needs to stop. So I'm not naming anybody by name. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not naming anybody by name, but I'm naming actions. And if people see these actions, then stay away from those people. Stay away from those people. In fact, my live I did, what was it, 3 lives ago? Well, it'll be 4 from this one. The 4th one down, I typed out a description box in the one called, it was jumping to conclusions without evidence. That's the name of it. I typed out a very good descriptive description box. Yeah. I put Bible verses in there about gossip and about slander and about libel. And look, I know a lot of things about a lot of people. Some things I wish I didn't know, but I do know. I'm just making it known now. I'm not the one you want to mess with, all right? For a whole slew of reasons. I'm not the one. I don't play games, all right? And if you're blocked from my channel, you're blocked for a good reason. You're blocked for a good reason. Because I don't put up with nobody's bullshit on this channel, all right? And as for people that want to, get mad at me because I blocked them, well, you're blocked for a reason. I'm very patient. I'm very long-suffering. Like it says in the Bible that you should be patient and long-suffering. But if you're blocked from my channel, you're blocked for a good reason. So, like a certain person that has no face on their avatar, no real picture. They don't use their real name or anything like that. This individual was causing trouble on my channel, and I asked them over and over again to be respectful. I blocked them. And now that person in a comments thread wanted to say something about me. Well, all I can say to that, to answer you, is that you're blocked for a reason. You'll know people by their fruits, in other words. You will know people by their fruits. People that indulge in gossip or try to harass people or do wrong to others, or talk about other people behind their backs, or bring them up, or lie. They did wrong, but then they want to lie about it to save face. Yeah, those types of people, and I'm not naming any names. I didn't say not one person's name. I didn't say not one person's name. I'm just mentioning actions. If you see people embodying these types of actions, then you know what they're all about. You know what they're all about. I ain't said nobody's name. I haven't had a reason to. Not yet. Not unless somebody gives me a reason to. But you know what? I had to tell somebody yesterday in a private conversation. And again, I'm not saying their name. I'm leaving it a mystery because they haven't done anything yet. So, you know what? I told them I would leave in peace because I don't like what they're all about. And I told them a bunch of other things too that is between me and that person. Again, I'm not saying their name, but I had to part ways with people this week. People I thought were once good people. But, evidently, they're not who they claim to be. They're not who they claim to be at all. So it's sad that I've had to part ways with people. And you see a lot of atheist channels. There's a lot of atheist channels that make it known that they're atheists. They make it known that they're atheists, that they're anti-God or anti-Bible. Again, I'm not saying no names, but there are atheist channels, and there's people that claim to be Christian people that are hanging out on these atheist channels. And I, for the life of me, can't figure out why anybody would want to do that. Why would anybody want to do that? It's not like they're giving them any sort of good news and information when they're pretty twisted off and pretty badly spun off themselves. I didn't say no name, so I'm leaving that up to the imagination. But if you're truly serious about your walk with God, if you're hanging out on atheist channels, you're wrong for that. You're wrong. You're plain wrong for that because because that means that you are unequally yoked with unbelievers, non-believers. And that's not something that you really want or need in the end times, because that is how you will be led astray. So if someone is anti-God, they make it known that they are. I mean, they straight up say it. Then why are you hanging out on a forum like that, on a channel like that? I can't figure it out for the life of me. So my bottom line is this. There are people both inside and outside of our community, and by our community, I mean the Christian community on YouTube. There's people both inside of it and outside of it who are not behaving like adults should. And again, I'm not the one people want to F around with. I don't appreciate what's been done to my woman I'm with. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate it. It's unbecoming of Christian people to go around and slander and libel people when she has in fact done nothing wrong to me. I didn't make that anybody's business to begin with. No way. So when that was brought to me, man, you all really, yeah, man, you messed up royally. You messed up royally with me. So if you're blocked for a good reason, not a bad reason. You're blocked for a legit good reason because you did something that you know better, that you know you had no business involving yourself in, and you know was unbecoming behavior. So, no, if you're blocked from my channel, you're blocked for a good reason. And I just want to make that abundantly clear. Again, I didn't name any names. So if those words bother somebody, then if it bothers you, then you must be guilty of something. If it doesn't bother you, then just let it roll off your back. Let it roll off your back. So, hey, Weathered. Hey, Ken. Good to see you. Hey, baby. Hey, Jennifer. But yeah, there's a lot of people not behaving like adults, involving themselves into things that they have no business involving themselves in, but they have that spirit of gossip. I put Bible verses, about 5 or so. I put them in that description box, and they're all about gossip and slander and libel. I put them in that description box. So if anybody wants to go and find those verses and read them, feel free. Feel free. But if you see people engaging in that behavior, talking about other people by name without a legitimate cause, talking about other people's business, or trying to make people sound bad when they in fact didn't do anything wrong, that is called slander, gossip, and libel. If you're talking about somebody without good cause, and I mean that, without good cause, like if somebody actually just flat out did wrong, like if somebody did something to you unprovoked and you said something about it, that's different, because you're defending yourself. That's different than if you just, go out and start spreading lies or misinformation about people. Defending yourself is a whole different thing than just going out and creating gossip. So if anybody in our community is engaging in those behaviors, they need godly correction for it. If they're not defending themselves, then they need godly correction. So, again, I haven't named any names, but if I find anybody is saying something about me, against me, for nothing wrong that I've done, because I've not done anything wrong to anyone. I have done no wrong to anyone. So if somebody is saying something about me, then I will start saying names. And believe me, people don't want me to do that. They do not want me to do that. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But, unbecoming behavior needs to stop. Somebody's got to be the adult in the room. So I guess that's going to be me. I'm going to be the adult in the room, and I'm going to tell other people that should be adults to stop acting like they're in high school. I shouldn't have to be the school's headmaster, and if I'll make a joke about it. People are lucky it's not an Islamic school, or I'd be doing some floggings. but anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it at that. I had to crack a cheesy joke about it. No, but yeah, there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype in the news these days, and it's getting, for me personally, I don't know how it is for other people, but for me personally, it's getting really tiring, because a lot of these stories are just misinformed stories to begin with, insofar as, they're singular events. They get hyped up. Then all of a sudden it's the end of the world because New York City had some sort of a preparation thing for nukes. It's like, come on, man. People are not understanding still. They're still not understanding. The United States isn't going to be destroyed in a nuclear war. It's going to be invaded and occupied and destroyed over time by conventional forces. China has hacked solar winds. They do not need to expend their whole nuke arsenal to destroy the land that they want the food production capacity from, nor would Russia, who wants the resources of the Arctic, including that of North America and Alaska back, and northern Canada. Why would they nuke what they want to control? It doesn't make even any sense. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I've had a dream of a few cities being nuked, and that was it. That was really it. I didn't see a whole ton of places nuked. I saw a few cities nuked, and that was about it. Everything else was invaded because I've had other dreams of fighting foreign troops head on. So, yeah, I don't get with that whole hyping nuclear war. There isn't gonna be one. There doesn't even have to be one. Why would they nuke the territory that they had taken 20 plus years to put troops on, to put their logistics on? Why would they do that? It defeats the entire purpose of going to war. Why would an enemy who spent all these years developing a new doctrine, putting their stuff, their vehicles, their equipment, their logistics, they're not going to nuke the whole country. That's like the stupidest, dumbest thing I've ever heard. And anybody who is perpetuating that, that's a myth. That's a myth. Anybody who's perpetuating that isn't going, and they're not doing their due diligence and research to find out the truth. And the truth is that for 20 plus years, according to the hybrid war doctrine and also the civil military fusion doctrine policy, which goes with their hybrid war doctrine, the civil military fusion policy, where they can combine their civilian properties or technologies or equipment or whatever to their military. They can fuse it. Yeah, man, it just gets me that people still think that they're going to nuke the whole country. They're not going to do that. They're going to invade it. They're going to occupy it. They'll use a handful of nukes, and that's it. That's it. Most people are not going to be affected by nukes. It's the most hyped up story that I've ever seen being reported, is this whole nuclear war thing. Guess who's not talking about nuking us right now? Guess who's not talking about nuking us? China and Russia have actually, in any official capacity, have not spoken about nuking us. In fact, just last night, I was watching one of my favorite programs on YouTube, which is a group of they're analysts from Europe. They're geopolitical analysts from Europe who actually sit there and take the time to pick apart the things that are said by the leaders of different European nations, to include Russia. And nobody on the Russian side right now is making any sorts of threats to overtly nuke the West. Just because they say that they may respond militarily, that doesn't mean that they're going to nuke. They don't have to. They've only used 5% or so of all of their conventional military power, and they've used 5% of it in Ukraine. That leaves 95% of their conventional forces remaining to deal with NATO or whoever else. You know, so when people discuss when Russia makes these ambiguous sorts of threats to do something to the West, they're not talking about going nuclear right away. They say things like they will respond in kind, or they're going to mirror what NATO does. By mirror, that means if NATO does a certain type of escalation, then Russia's going to do a certain type of escalation. And if it's a conventional escalation, then it's going to stay conventional. It's not going to they're not just going to just run and just nuke stuff, you guys. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's not going to happen like that. If you believe in your Bible, then you already know how it's going to happen. I mean, my God, I've read Jeremiah 50 and 51 to everyone. Those videos are still there. If you want to go and see them, I read the literal books, the chapters 50 and 51, and I equated that to modern terms. That's all I did. But I read the literal Bible passages for you, and all I did was equate it to modern terms. Modern situation that we're in now. That's all I did. That's literally all I did. So, if people want to go and watch that, feel free. We know Babylon's destroyed, but that doesn't mean that it's just destroyed by nukes. Yeah, the city of Babylon and the nation state of Babylon are two different places, as I've also shown you in great detail when I've read those passages, Jeremiah 50 and 51, or Revelation. That the city of Babylon, which is New York City, it's the commercial capital of this land, and the nation state of Babylon, the country, the greater land, are two different places. So in 1 hour, we know the city falls, but it's not that time yet because a lot of things have to happen first. That's why when I see people hyping these nuke things, it's like, my God, man, shut up. It's like, do people not understand yet that there is a order of events? That we have to have some sort of a collapse first, that, there is going to be a little bit of infighting, though the Bible doesn't make it, explicitly clear how long that lasts. I would assume it doesn't last long, but look, none of those things have happened yet. We haven't had a collapse. We haven't had the infighting. And, we haven't been invaded, obviously. So, that those things have to happen before the final destruction of Babylon, where it's made desolate. And that takes time anyway, because we get invaded by conventional armies. The Bible says it's armies that invade us. It's not explicitly only nukes. It's not. We get invaded. We get plundered. We get looted. We are occupied. They take some of the people off as slaves, and they kill all the rest, and they take everything else. That's what Jeremiah talks about. Look, none of those things have happened yet. This country is not just going to get explicitly destroyed by nukes. It's not how it works. It's not going to happen that way. It's not. Get all that out of your heads. If you believe in the Bible, then you know how it's going to go down, because you can read about it yourself, and you can see how it happens. We get invaded by armies from lands who people don't understand their languages. That would be China and Russia, everybody, in case people didn't, understand. That they're coming. They have spent 20 plus years buying properties here. The Chinese have, as I have always told everybody in all my past work. I've literally said the same thing. I have stayed on message. I have been consistent in all my past lives. I have beaten the same drum over and over and over and over again. And it's like people, that they just don't they're just not understanding it. But I have been consistent and I have been accurate because I don't want to give people bad information. You know, I'm not sitting there pulling stuff out of my bum, because I actually go and do research. I'm not just sitting there and, um, you know, speculating everything. I go and research these things. That's how I make hypotheticals, which that's not speculation. That is a hypothetical. That's a different thing, meaning that a hypothetical is something you put together based on real information. That's something that could easily happen with very minor differences. Because what I created in my mind might differ slightly from what happens in real life. But but the way it unfolds, the way it happens is going to be as close as it gets to the real thing because it's all based on real information. Real information. Not on hype, not on bogus current event stories that get passed down. No, it's based on real numbers, facts, figures, data, capabilities, and all of that. So, that's why I do what I do to show people the most accurate representation of what future events will be based on information and not on stories that come out in the news. That is what I do here. So, people that are saying, oh, there's going to be a false flag in New York and it's going to lead to this happening, or people that think that the government has all this power that it doesn't have. Look, I've told you, they have castrated themselves. Why do you think they need to arm all those agencies to begin with? Because they don't have any people. They don't have the manpower. They're not going to do no draft. If there's some sort of a false flag, tell me how a draft would work when they've already purged our military and they keep purging them. How is a draft going to work in that sort of an environment? Do you think people are going to willingly go and take their thing in the arm and want to be a part of an organization who has policies like that they have now? No, absolutely not. Anybody that's, speculating those sorts of things isn't in touch with reality whatsoever at all. Their logistics are not there. They don't have the space in TRADOC, which is all the training places in the military where they can raise up armies. Okay, for instance, all right, in TRADOC, when I was in the Army, Fort Sill is a TRADOC post, meaning it's a post where they have a training area for it's the field artillery school for the Army. It's the Army's field artillery school, and we even have Marines come there to train on their pieces because the Marine Corps doesn't have an artillery training center of its own. At least they didn't when I was in the Army. We would have Marines coming to Fort Sill to learn about their field artillery pieces and train on them. Okay, so that's one TRADOC post. Then you have an infantry post and a medic post. Like Fort Sam Houston is the medics TRADOC post. Okay, so you have all that. Then, you would have to have all of these people cycle through there, and at a time when the regime here has sold off its strategic reserves, just like in the scenario I made, the internal conflict scenario, the 5 video documentary series that everybody can go watch. Look, they don't have the fuel, the resources, the food. They're not going to have all that to just raise up armies willy-nilly. Do you understand the logistics that goes into something like that? So for people to say that there's going to be some false flag and it's going to cause them to do a draft, okay, how? How? Tell me how that's going to work. Tell me how that's going to work. Logistically speaking, how's that going to work? They're not going to have the fuel and the food and everything else. And whatever they truck down into those tunnels, those underground tunnels, it ain't coming back up. It ain't coming back up. It's down there to stay. It's down there to sustain about 200,000 people for, 5 years, 10 years. It's only enough to sustain the uber rich and whoever goes down in there for 5 to 10 years at tops. And I'm saying 10 years as in like, if they really, really stretch it. But it's enough for about 200,000 people for 5 to 10 years. It ain't enough for no humongous army, Our entire military is 2.2 million people. 2.2. And that's not even enough to occupy some major cities here and there, and maybe the border. It's not enough to occupy this whole country. It's not even close. Like I said many times, when this place becomes Syria, it turns into Syria, like exactly what happened in Syria. The military is going to be bifurcated. It's going to break in half. In fact, probably into even more pieces, because it's going to go to other factions. So their little rinky-dink 200,000 that goes down into those tunnels or wherever they run to hide, they're going to be yanked out by the Chinese and the Russians when they invade. They're going to pull them out of their hidey holes, like how we pulled Saddam Hussein out of his. They ain't getting away with nothing. And, they can go down there and think that they're going to live off of all their little goodies that they trucked down there over all those years. But you know what? It ain't going to work out to their liking, to their benefit, because they're not in control of everything. These people that hold on to this misconception that they can control what every last solitary single living person does in this country or anywhere else, they're full of it, man. They're full of it. They have no idea that there are all kinds of bad actors or even just independent-minded people that in a time of collapse, when there's a power vacuum, they're going to do their own thing. They're going to do their own thing, and they're not going to necessarily do what the regime assumed they would do or thought they would do or hoped they would do. If they did X, Y, Z, they thought that the population would do A, B, C. Well, guess what? Not everybody is under the thumb of some small uber-rich clique, It's shown to be the case time and time and time and time and time and time again all around the world. Look at every nation that has had some sort of internal conflict. Well, if a population was under control, there wouldn't be internal conflicts. Everybody would still be under the thumb of the leaders or whatever the case, whatever. But you don't have that. In an internal conflict, it's total bedlam, it's total mayhem, it's total anarchy and destruction and everything else. In the sense that, you have all these different rival groups duking it out against each other. Just like in every modern internal conflict that I can think of, especially in the last, even the last just 30 years. Look at every modern internal conflict in the last 30 years that's happened inside different countries around the world. those people were not under nobody's control but their own. They were acting on their own. They were doing what they wanted to do, what they wanted to do, not what the regimes wanted them to do, who they were usually fighting against. I mean, shit. They had Assad. They had Bashar al-Assad in Syria. They had him on the ropes. His days were numbered until his allies came in and saved the day. He was on the ropes. He was about to be finished. His regime was not powerful enough to fight off, what was it, like 15 different factions? There were like 4 major ones, and the rest were like small local ones. But he wasn't strong enough to hold down Syria, to hold all of Syria down, until Russia, China, Iran, and proxies came in and saved the day because they served as manpower, air power, logistical strength. They saved Assad's ass from the fire he was about to be in. But you know what? Because the United States has alienated itself from most of the world, like in the situation I created as a hypothetical, nobody ain't gonna be helping nobody. The only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to have places like China and Russia. You're going to have their intelligence agencies, sort of like how the CIA's done it forever. How they've been gun runners to all these different nations. Well, you know what? You're going to have the MSS of China, the Ministry of State Security of China. You're going to have the FSB of Russia, their Federal Security Bureau. You're going to have them. You're going to have them probably doing the exact same thing to aggravate things, just like I showed in the docuseries. If you go and watch those 5 videos, the first one is like a story reading. If you like to be read to, well, that's your story time. If you go listen to the first one, that's the background story of how the factions came to be, and that is about the most realistic rendition of any such thing that you will ever hear. And then the rest of it is map battles and explanations of how the economic systems worked, about the types of atrocities that happened, what the types of conditions on the ground looked like when the fighting was going on. All of it. I've shown you every angle of these things. So, all my work is made to be educational, all right? So when an internal conflict happens, there's going to be people and situations that are way outside the control of any centralized organization. You're just going to have that. You're going to have these factions becoming very powerful, filling a power vacuum. I'm sorry, but you know what? If you're a regime and you castrate your own military forces, you're not going to be strong enough to enforce your will nowhere. You're not going to be able to tell nobody what to do anywhere. You're not going to have the ability to enforce nothing nowhere. You're not going to do nothing. You're going to sit down in your little territory that's loyal to you. You're going to shut up, and you're going to try and hold on to what you have before you lose every little bit of it. Like in my scenario, how when all these factions seized control of humongous swathes of territory in this country, the regime was left with some little islands that were spread out across the land. And then they had California, of course, and they had tiny parts of the Northeast. That was it. That was all they had. And they were losing it badly because, remember, the National Salvation Revolutionary Front, that the biggest faction on the map, both in terms of its military size and also in terms of its land mass, and then later population, because it replaced the regime as having the most population the more territory it took over. You saw how they were trying to make a mad dash towards the cap, and they got pretty close. They moved a whole 75 miles from the battle they had at Martinsville battle that I had simulated. They moved from Martinsville, 75 miles northeast to Lynchburg, Virginia. That's a whole 75 miles they moved. And they needed one more decisive battle, but their logistics would not permit. They had outrun their supply lines, but they were moving fast to take the cap. Now, had any one of those factions struck such a psychological blow like that in that internal conflict, they'd have knocked the regime out of the internal conflict, and then it probably would have ended by the different factions trying to fight over power without the regime even on the map, because they would have been finished, obviously, because that's their power center. But you saw how both the Free American Army faction and also the NSRF, the National Salvation Revolutionary Front, were both trying to get to the cap. And they had basically had the regime on the ropes. That was like Assad's moment in Syria back in 2015. So, look, people that are going around saying, oh, the government can do this, or they know this, or they're this, or they're that, or they can do this. No, they can't, because these people don't have any basic understanding of how logistics operate, or what the capabilities are, or that when a regime neuters its capabilities, that it's unable to actually perform, and it's unable to actually maintain power and control. People don't seem to understand that. That has been the rule. It's not an exception. It's the rule. It has been the rule around the world for as far back as humanity goes. So when you have a weak regime who has castrated its abilities and capabilities and its size and everything else, how are they going to hold control of things when they know they don't have the logistics for their armies or their forces? They no longer have the forces because they've gotten rid of all the best professional parts of it, and they've castrated the rest, and they've utterly neutered themselves. How are they going to hold anything down when they don't have the logistics and they don't have the size of the forces? They cannot do it. People are deluded. They're delusional. They think things that just aren't even so, that aren't even real. I don't know where people come up with some of this stuff at. It's like they're so worried about things that aren't even realistic or aren't even like something even worth worrying about. You know what I worry about? I worry about just bad people in general, because I ain't worried about what this regime's going to do to nobody. I'm worried about all the psychotic different factions and groups that are going to come out when this place is totally collapsed. That's what I worry about. Then I'm worried about the Chinese and Russians the most, especially the Chinese. China is just so damn huge and gargantuan in size. Their industries, their war industries, their whole economy, their purchasing power parity for it is incredible, meaning that they can get more for their money, a lot more. Their size of their paramilitary and army with its reserves, it's humongous. Nobody can touch it. No one can hold a candle to it. No one. Then their air force, their combat air fleet of their air force is the biggest in the world due to the humongous size of their fighter fleet and also their tactical fighter bomber fleet. But they also have the second biggest strategic bomber fleet after Russia. So China's combat air fleet is the biggest in the world when you combine all three categories. But although Russia has the biggest strategic bomber fleet, they don't have nearly as many fighters or fighter bombers as China does. But they're still up there. They're up there in the top three biggest air forces. Russia is, but China's the biggest. Their combat air fleet is freakishly humongous. The amount of combat planes they have, nobody can touch that either. Nobody can touch their navy. China is not one to be messed with. They will go en bak. Has anybody ever seen the movie En bak? Well, China will go en bak on everybody and kick the shit out of everybody. So, yeah, that's who I'm worried about. I'm worried about China the most, then Russia, and then all the different little factions that are going to rise up and seize power in different areas. I'm not worried about some faction, or I'm not factions. I'm not worried about some regime that can't even stop the factions. I'm not worried about the regime. I'm worried about factions. I'm worried about Russia, and I'm worried about China. That's who the threats are inside this country. You know, that's what the problems are going to come from, the vast majority of them. I mean, unless you live in like one of these little globalist friendly areas like California or like the Northeast where they took to the globalism programming really good, unless you live in one of those areas, you don't really have to worry about the regime. They're not a threat to nobody. I mean, what is their woke military going to come and kick you in your nads with a stiletto or something? I mean, are they going to are they going to come and get you and then take you back to their little base camp and tie you to a chair and dress you like a girl? I mean, what are you scared of them for? Like, what are people scared of the woke military for? Like, what do they think they're really going to do? I mean, hey, did you know that that they are now arranging to give what is it, like a third of their entire HIMARS rockets that they have, the rockets themselves that go into the launchers, they're arranging to give Ukraine about one third of all our HIMARS rockets that go with the rocket launchers that we're sending to Ukraine, the rocket artillery, the HIMARS rocket artillery pieces. So they're going to give them one third of all the ammo that we have for those. So they're going to give them, maybe a few dozen launchers, and they're going to give them what, like 7 or 8 thousand rockets to where they can keep loading and reloading and reload. So they're going to give them a third of all our rockets. Wow, that's really smart. That's really smart. That's really smart. So now our rocket artillery, which the HIMARS, basically, the M270 and the HIMARS might as well be the same thing, but the HIMARS is called a high mobility rocket system, rocket artillery system. Whereas the MLRS is on those, it's got tracks. It's a tracked vehicle, like you would see on the tank or on a self-propelled artillery howitzer, like I was on. The MLRS is on tracks, okay, but it shoots the same size rocket that the HIMARS fires. So when they say that they're going to give Ukraine a third of all of the ammo for it, that's taking away from both systems that we have here at home. It's taking away from our MLRS, which is the M270. It's taking rockets from those systems, and it's taking them away from our HIMARS systems. They're 227 millimeter rockets. That's the size of the rockets that those MLRSs and HIMARS fire. So they're giving them a third of all our rocket artillery rockets that we would use to reload and keep firing those systems. So I don't think that's very, very smart. They cannot replace that ammo, that rocket ammo, for the artillery. They're not going to be able to replace all those 227 millimeter rockets that go with those two types of rocket artillery pieces. They are not going to be able to replace those because they cannot build them fast enough, if at all. If at all. And the reason I say if at all is because of what they have done to our supply chain, which affects the military-industrial complex too. Because where do you think that they get their resources, their metals, their everything, their chemicals for the propellants and everything else? Where do you think that they get all of that stuff? It comes from a supply chain, folks. So if it's hampering the military-industrial complex, they're going to have a hell of a time replacing what was just arranged to be given to them. So, if they're doing that with our rocket artillery, if it's hurting our rocket artillery by them giving a third of all the ammo we have in stock to another country, then my God, are they doing it? Are they going to do that with shells for howitzer artillery? I mean, like, what are we going to have left? What are we going to have left? This is the depleted, woke military. And let me explain something. In warfare, in modern warfare, artillery is everything. It's everything. If you don't have artillery support, then you know what? You're stuck like Chuck. I mean, that's not to say that you couldn't use air support if you don't have howitzer or rocket artillery support, but let me tell you something about howitzer and rocket artillery. It can destroy immense amounts of territory. Rocket artillery especially. One MLRS can destroy a whole grid square. It can saturate a whole grid square, a 1 by 1 kilometer area. That's just one MLRS firing all its rockets. So if you're taking rockets away from the MLRS or from the HIMARS, which is like a more mobile MLRS, it's on a truck instead of a track, instead of a heavier tracked vehicle. If you're taking rockets from those, or you start, let's say they start depleting our stock of artillery shells, what's that gonna leave us with as far as artillery support? That's gonna leave us with almost like nothing that matters, because you know what? When you run out and you don't have a military industrial complex that can replace its loss, then you're screwed. And if your Air Force can't be used, then you're really screwed, because you would have to depend on your Air Force to do everything if you don't have any artillery support. And if your Air Force doesn't have fuel to take off and it's largely grounded, minus a scant few missions that don't really mean anything, then you're pretty much screwed. You're pretty much screwed. So what is the woke military going to do anything or to enforce anything? It's going to do nothing. It's going to do nothing. It's going to do nothing. And if this country has an internal conflict, it's going to happen exactly like I've shown people. It's going to break down and it's going to bifurcate, break apart, fracture off, and go its own ways. And there's going to be different factions, warring factions, just like in medieval times. Like if you learned about ancient or medieval China with the different dynasties all having wars with each other, where it was like the warring faction period. That's basically what America would become, just like I've shown you, just like Syria, it would turn into that. It would exactly happen that way. So, then you would have your foreign invasion, where they come in and smash us to pieces when there's nothing left after we've bled ourselves dry from fighting each other and using up the last of the tiny logistics that we even had left. So, when you see a lot of these stories, just remember, a lot of it is hype. And again, I'm not going after anybody. I have friends that read news stories. They get up there and they sit there and they read news stories, which that's all fine and good, but you got to use some objective facts to back up what you're reading now. Like if you're going to get up there and read a news story, you have to look at it. Look at where the things came from. Like let's break down the whole New York City thing together real quick. Like as far as what I was just saying is concerned, okay? Just within the scope of what I was just saying about, examining it. Okay, so something like that comes out. You said, okay, so here's a video about New York City getting ready for a nuke attack. Then you go, okay, well, what's the source of it? Who produced it? Where did it come from? What's the source of it? What's the purpose of it? And you find all that out by tracing those different things back to their source, their origin. You find out, who made it, who's behind it, whose money is behind it, and you find out what their agendas are. And then you can look at it more objectively and be like, okay, well, is this just made to be part of the hype Mockingbird program? Okay, I do realize that Smith-Mundt is no longer in effect. Now, y'all, I'm talking like as if I'm an investigator. Okay, I'm a person. I'm a person investigating things. Okay, so that's what I'm talking as. Okay, I do realize that Smith-Mundt is not in effect. So I do realize that these people are releasing a lot of hype stories, agitation, and fear propaganda that is made to mislead and disinform people. Mis and disinfo. Mis and disinfo. So if you understand that to begin with, then it helps you not to be so biased when you're doing such research where you're going back and you're tracing the origins of these things. If you don't know the origins of something and you can't find it, then the best thing you can do is not to indulge it, but to put it on the shelf for a later date. Your mental shelf, your mental bookshelf. If you don't know the source of the video, who produced it, why it was produced, and you can't find it out, what I'm saying, and I mean find it out for sure. I don't mean like find it out like by just asking, oh, who made this? Oh, it was the city of New York. Okay, who in the city of New York and for what purpose and why? Who paid them to do it? Did someone pay them or put them up to it? You know, you have to ask questions like that about everything, about everything. I'm not saying that a false flag couldn't happen, but what I'm saying is that there has to be more to it than what is being reported and purported about it. So there's more to this than what people realize, and it might not be what people even think it is. It might not be what people even think it is. You know, yes, if they did have some sort of a false flag, I'm sure it would be terrible, but is it going to cause us to, you know, shake our fist at Russia and the whole population to unite like back in 9 to the 11? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No, we're way beyond that point. No, they've been so busy dividing us that there's nothing that's going to reunite this nation again. It's over. It's done. This place has been fractured bit by bit to where there's going to be nothing left, because this nation is going to have an internal conflict. It's not just because it's prophetic, it's also because it's been set up that way, and everybody can seize it. Sees it. Everybody can see it. Everybody can see it. Everybody sees it for what it is. Everybody sees it for what it is and can see it. You know, the moment, look, they're not, these elites are not going to be able to control an internal conflict. Once it happens, it is going to happen beyond their control, just like every single other solitary one around the world. You cannot control every single solitary person or every single solitary strongman leader that rises up with their own ideas, their own goals, their own objectives. There's people that hate the globalists that would become a faction, like the National Salvation Revolutionary Front. They were diametrically opposed to globalism and the uber rich. And you saw what they did to them. You saw what they did to them. You saw how heinous they were in their treatment of basically the uber rich, the elites, and the regime and the globalists and anybody that supported them, the Karens and snitches. You saw how they treated all those types of people. So they're not in control of everybody. They have not accounted for all the people that would be like wild cards in such a situation, or all the different factions that have been plotting in secret, that have been lurking in the shadows, that have their own goals, their own ideas, their own objectives. I've shown you guys every single solitary form and facet of how such a thing even works, how it even works. I've shown you how it works. Time and time and time again. I've shown you in 5 videos that were put together into a documentary series. It's in a playlist. It's the Second American Internal Conflict playlist, Syrian style. I suggest you watch that the entire way through, from part 1 to the final part. You can literally, if you're paying attention, you'll see how all those things come together. You'll see how it all comes together, and just how easily such things could happen in the environment that we live in now. So, all of that aside, going back to what I was saying about hype stories, anytime you see a current event story in the news, you better be questioning it fully, completely. Where did it come from? Why is this happening? Why is everybody latching onto the same story and perpetuating this? I understand that the mainstream media has infiltrated alternative media. What are all the gatekeeper channels saying? Are they the ones that the story came from? If so, where did they get their story? If they're reporting it from a mainstream news source, disregard it. Disregard it. I'm telling you. Or you're just going to be spun and you're going to be misled yourself. Again, I'm not saying that a false flag couldn't happen somewhere. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, when stories like this hit alternative circles and they start getting pushed like crazy, you need to be asking serious questions. I'm trying to teach people how to think and do research on their own, because a lot of people are not doing their due diligence. And they're not going, when they watch alternative media stories, they're not going and further questioning where they came from, why they came, what their purpose is. Okay, the basis for all of it is that there is no Smith-Mundt. They can propagandize America and Americans. So as long as you understand that, you need to be asking questions. You cannot take stories that are current event stories at face value. You can't do that. You cannot do that. We don't live in a time where you can actually do that to where it makes any sense, I have to have a cigarette here. Sorry, y'all. I'm just getting up for the day, so I wanted to do this last night. I'm just getting up for the day, so I'm kind of, I'm just starting to, get it together here. But yeah, I just want to see who's all in here before I get going. This was a pretty good one today, I think. Yeah, Ken, it definitely was weathered. It was definitely asinine. It was really asinine. People don't even question this stuff, like where it even came from, or like whose money is behind it, or what the source of it is, why it was done. People don't question anything anymore. They just take everything and run with it. Hell, that goes with why we have all these problems in our community, is because people make up lies about other people, and then they take it and they run with it. That whole rumor thing, and that's unbecoming of Christian people. I don't talk bad about other people. You don't hear me get up here and talk bad about people unless they've actually done something to me, or unless it's something that just is so, just jacked up that it needs to be addressed. But I don't name names here. I don't do that. I don't name names. I've been pretty nice. I've been ambiguous. I've been ambiguous about, who did what, because I haven't named their names. So, people will see all that stuff on their own. And if they have the discernment and the eyes to see, they'll see who is about what. They'll see who is exactly about what, and they'll know what they need to avoid or who they need to avoid based on that. I don't even have to say any names. People will find, they'll figure that out on their own. So if you're on your best behavior, if you're acting like a reasonable, responsible adult, and you're not sitting up there bashing people by name for no good reason or making up lies about people, then guess what? You're not going to have no problems. You ain't going to have no problems from nobody. I don't ever want to have no problems. That's why I don't come up here and bash people by name. I will talk about things that people are doing as far as actions. I'll bring up actions, and if people don't clean up their actions, then other people are going to see those actions being done, and they're going to know what that person is all about. Period. They're going to know what they're all about. So people need to clean up their actions, and they won't have those problems if they're acting right. If they're acting right, if they're treating each other with respect, you will not have any problems. You know, you treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect. Like I said, I've told people already that I'm parting ways with them. Several people. And it's not because I wanted to. I sure hate to do it. I do. I hate to do it. But they've left me no choice because they're acting like kids. They're acting like little kids. They ain't even acting like the people I thought that they were. They've shown themselves to be different than what I thought they were. And it really, it's a shame. It's really a shame. But if they continue acting like that, people are going to see who these people are by name, because I don't even have to say their names. They're gonna out themselves by how their behavior is. Their behavior is going to get them outed in front of everybody. So they better clean up their behavior. I'm not naming no names. Again, I haven't name dropped. I haven't said no names. But people that are acting wrong, people that are making excuses for their bad behavior, what they've done, and making excuses for it, man, y'all better quit that. Y'all better quit it. Y'all better get some act right. Quit acting like some damn kids. This ain't high school. No, we're supposed to be a community. We're supposed to be a community that loves one another, that cares about one another. But, you know, evidently, you know, there's betrayers and other types among us, and man, it's a damn shame. It really is. It's a shame, you know. Again, I haven't named no names this entire stream. I haven't said nothing about no one by name. But people that are going around saying bad things about other people without a just cause, man, y'all better watch yourselves. Y'all better watch yourselves, you know, because slander and libel and, you know, all of that, that's a serious thing. You know, you can actually be sued for that type of thing. You know, I'm not saying I would do that. I mean, I could do that if it happened to me, if it ever happened to me. I'm not saying I would or wouldn't, but I'm just saying that, you know, that's taken pretty seriously in a court, you know, and you know, you better, if you're going to say something about somebody, you better have some real evidence, not some fake bake evidence that doesn't mean anything. So basically, people better be on their best behavior, and people better use their brains, do their due diligence, and do research into all these hyped up stories that come out on any given day. It's like they have like a fear cycle at the MSM or the Mockingbird media, and they come up with these fear stories and they just circulate them on any given day, and then they end up in the alternative media because people in alternative media read mainstream sources. It just irks me, man. It's like, stop doing that. Stop reading articles from mainstream media. Stop. Just stop. Do your own research. Stop reading MSM articles. Just go do your own research on stuff, man. It's like, don't read the article. I mean, if you're going to read the article, do your research around it first before you read the article so you can rip the article up to pieces. By rip it to pieces, I mean like take it apart, segment by segment, question everything that's in it. Sort of like that one guy does that has that, he used to have that channel called High Impact Flicks, where he was really good at doing that. Where at least if he read the article, he at least knew how to rip it apart, like take it apart, and you know he would like take it apart sentence by sentence, reading it, and then he would say, oh well, this really means this, and that really means that, and that, and that, and that, and that. You know, he was really good at it. But you know, people anymore, man, there's too many people getting up there just taking everything at face value, and there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of propaganda out there. Fear and agitation propaganda is a big thing for the Western satanic elites because they're trying to weaken the resolve of people to be able to function. Because if people aren't constantly in a state of panic or anxiety or fear, they might actually be able to be effective. You know, I show people the things I do because I'm trying to show people what's really going to come here so that they know what they can really prepare for and they can be effective and they can navigate it. My channel ain't no fear channel. My channel's just a reality channel where I don't sugarcoat shit and I want to show people the reality of it all. The reality. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever in between. I'm just showing the reality of the types of things that are coming here, things that already have and do happen in other parts of the world. They're coming here. You better get ready for it. You better stockpile food. You better learn how to defend yourself. You better invest in yourself in getting some decent defensive equipment. You better get a plate carrier. You better get armor. You better get a helmet. I know a lot of my subscribers have. I know some by name. I know some by name. In fact, I know a few by name of my subscribers who, after I wrote my first story in the community tab, went and bought helmets. And I think they got themselves some armor too. Praise God. Praise God. You see, that's what I'm talking about. People learning to be effective people. Being self-sufficient, being able to grow or hunt or fish or find your own food, forage for food. If you stockpile food, water, being self-sufficient is what it's all about, and learning and training in self-defense and acquiring defensive equipment and learning how to mitigate your own issues, like field sanitation. That mitigates diseases, getting rid of garbage, all of that. I teach people all of that stuff in my community tab story review playlist. All of that's in there. I teach people about all kinds of different things, on this channel. Real things that matter. Real things that matter. All of the work I've done on this channel was to help people. I ain't done nothing wrong to nobody. All I've ever tried to do here was do good things for other people's benefit, to help people. So, people can take that or they can leave it, but hey, their blood ain't on my hands. If they don't want to go and learn about all this stuff, then it's not my problem. It's not my problem. Because I've done my end of things. I've taken care of my end of things. I've released the work. I've done the work. I didn't have to spend my time like this for anybody. That's what people don't understand. I didn't have to spend my time like this for anybody. But I did. So, that's my service. That's my kingdom work for God's kingdom. That's my service I've done for others, okay? I didn't have to do any of it. So, don't get things twisted. I sure ain't got to be here. I ain't got to be doing none of it for nobody. So, that's a problem. People get things twisted anymore these days. They need to straighten themselves out. So, all right, I wanted to say thank you, my thank yous for all who came today. See who's all in here. Let me see here. Hey, Joe, what's going on? Joe gotta go. I'm working on solar panels. Bought some yesterday. Outstanding, man. Outstanding, Joe. Keep it up. Thank you, baby. Thank you, Jennifer. Kevlar isn't that bad, Heather. You can get some on. What you should do, go online, go to eBay, do what I did. Go to eBay, go to body armor. Just type in body armor, and you'll find military surplus body armor, or you'll find plate carriers. Get you an AR-500 steel plate. You can get a set of good ones for $70. The whole set, the side plates, the front and the back. And you can get you some either military grade body armor if you're strong enough to wear it, or you can get you a plate carrier and put those plates in it. Plate carrier is probably your cheaper option. You can find good deals, Heather. They're out there. They're out there. They're out there. Like Sportsman's Guide is where I sent a lot of people to get good helmets, like surplus helmets, and they also have some of those AR 500 plates. They probably have the plate carriers there too. You might be able to do a one-stop shop on Sportsman's Guide. You know what? On all my stuff, the stuff I'm wearing, what I'm wearing in that thumbnail, that didn't even cost me, and that has the plates inserted inside of it. The AR 500 steel, that's inside of it. That's even stronger than Kevlar plates. That the sappy plates that go into the body armor. That's even stronger because the body armor itself is strong. Like the vest itself is a strong vest, but then you can insert plates in it to make it resistant against all sorts of rifle rounds. People have been able to dump entire magazines into AR 500 steel plates, and it ain't even did nothing to it. The bullets all cracked upon hitting it. See, Kevlar, it's lighter than the AR 500 steel, but it doesn't protect you as well. That's what we had in the Army. We had those sappy plates that went into our vests. Now, they might be able to take 4 to 6 hits from like an AK before they shatter, but the AR 500 steel, you can dump magazine after magazine into that. You're virtually impenetrable to bullets, most bullets, when you wear that. Unless it's but it only covers so much of your body. It doesn't cover your whole body. It just covers your vital organs. But but your chest and everything is virtually impenetrable to bullets. But you might get some cracked ribs, but you'll be alive. You'll definitely be alive. You'll be alive and kicking. Um, well, yeah, MB, but when you're wearing that vest is going to catch a lot of that. The plate's inside the vest. It's not going to like rip up there and like hit you in the face when you have that vest on. That's the whole purpose of the vest. Actually, the plates themselves, they even have this coating on it where it's sort of like rippled, where it's made to sort of break up some of that to where it doesn't go directly upwards at you. Um, it's yeah, Philip, it's heavy, but it's worth it, man. I would rather wear heavy and know that I have that type of protection than wear something that protects me less just for the lighter weight of it. It's all on personal preference. I'm not telling no one what they should buy and not buy. I'm just telling you what I have and why I got what I have. I got what I have because I know it works, because I know it'll protect me from pretty much whole magazines being dumped into me. It's not going to do nothing to me. And I have it inside my vest. So, yeah, that vest is going to protect my face from any type of, bullets breaking up from it. It's not, it's just going to, it's basically just going to be caught in it. You're pretty well in good shape as long as you have those as inserts for any type of vest or a plate carrier. You're pretty much in good shape. At least your vital organs are, and whatever's shielded by it. So, yeah, that's what I try to do, Heather. I just, or I'm sorry, Siondo, your avatar looks similar. Sorry, from here it does. My eyes are bad. Yes, sir. Thank you, Shondo. Shondo. Uh, yeah, MB, it will. Yeah, it can kill you, but that's why you got to put it in your vest. You got to insert those plates. You got to insert them inside of some sort of a vest so you don't have a problem with the spalling. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, baby. Hey, Priscilla. Heather, Joe, James Lewis, are you still here, bro? Make sure the scopes are zeroed in. Just need more water. Yeah. Do that, man. Make sure all your optics work and get you some more water. Always get more water and more food. Always get more water and more food. Ammo's heavy, once you start accumulating a lot of it, but once you start accumulating it, you're good. Hold on. I think I seen something. I think I seen something. Hold on. Dang. I thought I saw something that said make somebody a moderator. I'm like, what? I was about to go. It's not letting me do it now. Damn. I'm going to see if I could do that again on my next live. I don't know what I did. Oh, okay, hold on. I made you a mod, Jen. I found out how to do it. Yeah, troops seen in Mexico. Yeah, James Lewis. They're all over the place, man. They're in Mexico, Canada, inside the United States on Chinese Communist Party properties, CCP properties. Yeah, I finally figured it out, baby. I figured out how to do it. I figured it out. No, it wasn't a button. What it was I clicked on you. Like I clicked on your like you said something. Like I clicked on whatever sentence you said and I made you a mod. It just said something like add moderator. I'm like, "What?" It never gave me no option like that before. No, seriously, it never gave me no option like that before. I had to, like, the last time I did something like that, it was to get rid of a bot, right? Like, it allowed me to stop the bot, but it never said nothing about no moderator. Now it says add moderator. Wow. Well, how about that? How about that? Let's see. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. You know what? I'm about to get going, y'all, because my phone's about to die. But if there's any regulars that I see come in next time, I'm going to start making some more moderators now that I know how to do that. Now, Jennifer's a moderator, of course, but, I'm going to make a few other people moderators next time I do this. I just wanted to, greet everybody before my phone dies. How long have I been going? Oh, yeah, I've been going a good hour and a half. Anything else real quick? Anybody have anything else to say before I get going? I wanted this to be a good live. I hope I covered everything I set out to cover that I mentioned at the beginning. I think I did. But, yeah, I just want people to treat each other like adults, treat each other with respect within this community. As Christians, we're supposed to be setting an example to other people, and gossip is a bad example. Anybody that tolerates that on their channel is setting a bad example. I don't tolerate that type of garbage, and that's why I've blocked who I've blocked. So if anybody is blocked, that's why. That's why. So, they can go and, whatever they're going to say about it, but, lying to save face doesn't look good either. So, people have to act like adults. Again, I'm very long-suffering. People that have known me for a long time, that have been with me for the last few years on my channel, they know I'm very patient. I'm very tolerant. So it takes a lot to really get under my skin, but I've had enough of it because, it's interfered with Jennifer's life. It bothered me. It's only come into my life in the past few days. I didn't know nothing about none of it. I didn't know anything about any of this. I didn't know what was going on. But it has interfered with her life so badly that people were talking about her, acting like, stupid kids, I mean, I told her, I said, you know what, you need to confront this. I've confronted it on my channel as soon as I found out. You need to confront it too, and it's been resolved, Sure, there's still people that are bitter about it, but, when you're the one that's done wrong, you have no right to be bitter about nothing. So, I don't even want to hear people yapping and whining. They did what they did to themselves. So again, I ain't named no names. So, people can find that out on their own. They make themselves look bad, but it is what it is. I don't tolerate any garbage like that over here. Anybody starts doing stuff like that, they're gone. They're out of there. Like a home run out of the park. You know, if they got off YouTube, they need to stay off YouTube until they can, you know, be adults and apologize and be good Christians and make amends for the wrong they've said and not make excuses about it. So, yeah, that's their problem. You know, no one ever better mention my name. If I see anybody starting to, you know, lie on me or say things about me, you know, hey, you know, you don't want me to expose you, because I guarantee you, you wouldn't like that. You probably wouldn't even be on YouTube no more. If I did something like that, I'd make you look so stupid. Yeah, you all be blessed. You all be blessed. I love each and every one of you all. Y'all better just treat each other with respect, you know, be kind to each other. You see people, you know, doing things that they're not supposed to. We're supposed to set an example and be good Christian people. You see people doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, go check them. Put them in check. You know, tell them, hey, y'all better watch yourselves. Y'all better watch your mouth. You know, because if they're saying things that they shouldn't be saying, then people should be addressing it immediately, because we're supposed to set an example, not make a bad example and live a bad example. So if you see others doing things that they shouldn't be doing, put them in check. Put them in check. You know, it's called godly correction, you know. Oh, hey, Brandy. Good to see you too. All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. I love everybody. Y'all be blessed. Be blessed, Heather, Brandy, and MB, and James, and everybody. And Ken, too. Everybody. Y'all be blessed.